that whatever I see is smiling at me. Love is who I am. Hello there, everyone, and welcome. I'm back. Well, not quite literally so, but I'm always here. But I wanted to invite you to be with me, to stay with me in this course of videos that are my New Year videos. Okay, so I'm going to be putting on my glasses to start the year off with bright vision. So I don't know quite where to start. This will be a lot to take in. Again, as always, I've been in deep reflective mode for almost a month now, actually the whole year. And I was processing a lot of what's coming through. And I wanted to do this video as a retrospective journey, actually looking back at 2018 and seeing what is here for us to synthesize. Because, you know, it's almost like this last month for me felt like a book, opening of a book, a chapter of the self. It's kind of like making that revision so you can take a new step forward with taking a few steps back. This is what sometimes we need to do on this journey of light integration and devotion to ascension. I was shown many things, so it will be quite challenging for me to put this in a kind of like linear, consecutive theme, the way of functioning here. For me, it's very difficult. I do embody spiral consciousness, so sometimes for me, it's quite challenging to exist in a linear format, so I have to adjust, I want to take you on this conscious reflection journey, as this journey of retrospective, where we will be looking at where we are as of now, what were some of the themes recurring this year of 2018, and now we're in 2019. It's just a number change, but have we actually changed? Like I said, it's like an opening of the book. And if you take any book that you maybe read before in your life, you can read the book, put it back on the shelf, and that's it. You never hear about it again. Or you actually read the book with quite a deep insight and awareness, and then you follow up with work that comes through that book. This is something I want to share about today as well, because I have so much to share and I really don't know where to start. So I will actually make a compilation of these videos. The first one will be a retrospective journey. I really advise you to take a look at this one before you watch the 2019 New Energy update, and kind of like a theme overlay for us, as well as the third video I will be doing about this will be a channeled spirit guidance. It will be with messages and workflows as well as your personal choices. But this video will only be available on my Patreon page, because I have been talking about the whole year, quite towards the end of the year actually, because I'm quite new to this, and I've been kind of informing you that in the upcoming new year, my life path will kind of shift a bit, because this is what they have been, and I say they, my team, my Luma team, they've been preparing me for that, because they've shown me that this was kind of strenuous year, not just for me, but everyone, but especially for me, because I've changed so much in the last few, I don't know, should I say months? Probably years, but these last few months have really been quite a nutcracker for me. It's been like I wasn't the same being anymore. It's like I'm transforming from so deep within that I couldn't connect to some of the things that I was, sharing or doing, in the same way and format for so long. And they've actually been showing me that if I don't make that jump, certain things won't be able to unfold, and I simply have to do this. So I will share some of these changes that will be coming up towards the end of this video. They're very important. If you are one of the Ascension devotees here with me who is really about to go deeper, I advise you to take a look at that, because it will be about some deep changes about my YouTube channel, by my work in general, and some of the things I will be doing and I will no longer be doing. Okay. So December, in truth, these last few weeks, especially the holiday week, weren't that restful for me. I was actually channeling and doing a lot, so that's why I'm kind of overwhelmed now. I don't know where to start. It's been hard for me to shift from that being mode when I allowed myself to just be, and it's really good. It's really reflective to allow yourself to just be a while, to create that state of allowing yourself to just exist in what it feels like spiraling consciousness. And this is what we've been moving into, and I've been sharing about this the entire year. Is the last year the video, I think, of the synthesis was about the sacred feminine as the divine mother, as the way we're being informed through the divine feminine consciousness, as the life-giving consciousness. This was the overview, and it really round up nicely with my illumined consciousness and the Elohim consciousness embodiment 13th octave mastery course, which kind of created a dot on, the dot on the letter I and all of this. It was quite a beautiful unfoldment for me, and I, simply had to unwind a bit from all of that because my path is so intense. I receive messages and awareness and especially galactic knowledge all the time. And then I'm writing these notes and I'm channeling, and it's all over, the place. And it's not in a linear form because I start something and then I get something else and then I get additional something for something I was writing way back. And it all really does reflect that spiral consciousness, which is that what I was talking about at the beginning of the previous year, which is still here in a way, because we're still holding that point of how much we've actually graduated from it. This is the question. It's like you can read a book, but are you doing the work, or have you done the work about the book, the knowledge that's in it, or you just read it and threw it somewhere in the corner? Because I see a lot of people who are calling themselves light workers, star seeds, and all of that. But then you talk to these people, and they have so many issues, and they're acting sometimes in a very selfish or egotistical way. Even sometimes how people come to my work and how they communicate, it's very immature. They just think you're going to show up and hand them over something, and it's basically lacking any sort of real, genuine respect. And sometimes I really see what Spirit shows me is that we're not here truly to, people talk about what's my purpose, I need to do this and that, and people get too infatuated with these roles and assignments, what they need to do, and it becomes so over glamorized. In truth, we're here to do the body work. We're here to bring this beautiful illumined self to our human bodies. And for me, I take this very seriously. So when I withdraw, when I retreat, I'm not lazy, I don't do anything and just forget about the world. But I actually take this with the sacredness that it actually is, and this is not an easy task, and my team keeps telling me this is a very challenging path you've chosen, and I know I have. And I'm going to share my initiation that occurred just before the new year actually came, in terms of the numerology shifting and January being here. Our new year, as you know, was on solstice. In terms of seeding the new cycle, the application of it will be in equinox point. That's our spring beginning here in the northern hemisphere. It's when the cycle truly physically begins anew. And in between now, we're in between the winter solstice and the equinox. We're in this transition time. So in this times, we're still kind of unwinding this old. So that's why I felt it's very important to do this synthesis first. So then we're going to do the new year energy. Everyone goes so quickly into the new year. It's like, this is the new year for this and that, and they do all these promises and prophecies. And in the new year update, I'm going to share with you why this no longer works for those of you who are truly ready to embody spiral consciousness, because it's not as black and white as some people portray it to be. So our work, as always, is here in the body. It always has been. So the whole last year, I was reminding you of the life force cultivation, the importance of bringing life force to awareness, and to know that, they were just showing me this today, actually. It's very important to bring that to the surface. Is I still see so many people get infatuated, right, with roles, like I said before, what they need to do, what they think is their purpose, but their personality is still so non-integrated. It still doesn't reflect the higher qualities of illumination, divine angelic qualities as essences of life-giving. So instead of focusing on their inner work, they don't even see. It's like they're blind to themselves. And whenever people behave that way, they still have work to do here. They're still somehow karmically linked to this planet. They have to graduate from this, because you can't move to higher refined octaves of being. And that's why some people don't like me in the work that I share, because it feels structured. But it's just how it is, It's like the pure beings who are here, who really are doing this, who are so pure at heart. All they want to do is be aligned with this devotion. They're the only ones who are no longer karmically linked, or they have not been since the beginning of their purpose here, where they're incarnating here. But there's people who still have vows and agreements, and they need to unwind that cycle before they wish to go into a new one. And I see so many people, they want to jump, to the first thing that's offered to them. They want to get quick solutions, easy fixes, all of that. And I'm oftentimes mention this in my work. But this work really, it requires so much dedication and devotion, and it takes everything from us, but it brings so much more back. It fruitfully gives more and more, but to those of us who truly want to devote to this path. So today, they were actually reminding me to mention to you that I witnessed this a lot with people. They take one piece of information here, oh, no longer fits them, they go somewhere else, and it's like they're almost shifting, like it's shifting channels on TV. They're shifting guidance, and they're shifting, one week they like someone, then, oh, they go to something else. And there's nothing wrong with, trying to find yourself, but the outside discovery is not truly how we really find ourselves in terms of deep awareness. It's almost like, trying to navigate and choosing that external resonance, and it won't fit. Nothing will fit. Nothing will feel right until you really actually get back to the self. And that was the message of 2018. It was the embodiment of this feminine life force, the giving of life essence that can only occur once you recognize that aspect of you. So I witnessed a lot of that, even with people who come, and they say, oh, I'm devoted, then they go away. It's like, let's take the example, someone comes that wants to be part of the Patreon team. They're there for 1 week, they go away. And it's almost like I said, there's nothing wrong with that. There's always the active free choice. But what they reminded me of today is when you work with higher levels of awareness, it's almost like they give me one other example. It's like, how light workers always talk about serving others, and you're serving others. And up until the point when sometimes you have almost like this feeling like you need to do this, and it becomes your job, then becomes your role, then becomes your identity. And once you're identified, that's what it is. You can't move beyond that. You can't be a spiral. You can't be a free being. And that's why I was teaching this spiral consciousness embodiment for a while now, to help you get liberated from that. So it's just like people start to believe that so firmly instead of just being that without making it a belief system. Anything that we say spiritual can, again, just become another set of belief systems if we don't really treat it right from within. And if we don't really blossom into it in the right, proper way through devotion. So it's like they were saying, cosmic beings, light beings, they serve life. They serve the essence of life, which I call Holy Spirit. So it's very different. And for me in my life, I have to be very free and independent in the way that I work. And sometimes it's easy, it's easy for me to shift, but it's difficult for me to shift in a way that what people will think about it, because people are used to structures. Like, you offer this, and then if you don't offer this, we go somewhere else. And it's almost like the system is based on evaluating something or someone. And if it doesn't deliver something you believe, and it must be that source's fault because it doesn't bring you to a certain level of understanding. I can offer all the channel material, all the knowledge, everything out there, free courses I've been doing for years. But if someone doesn't, when you read that book, if you don't do the integration work, it doesn't serve one bit. It might open a door, but you have to walk through it. So when people are jumping from one thing to the next, trying to fulfill themselves, it's always going to leave these many doors open, which in fact will cause just more confusion. Because if you have so many doors open, you believe, wow, I have to have so much potential, but in truth, you're actually just being more confused because you haven't yet developed enough quality of soul maturity to get you really in that state of centeredness. So what they were showing me is when you are functioning in the spiral consciousness of life, all you really want to do is you want to have an affinity to serve life. And life is the essence of life force. And life force, as I've shared many times before, always moves with the highest potential. And when something no longer is fruitful, it has the ability to bear fruit in a certain way, we have to surrender and let go of that. And people usually like certain things if they feel they fit them, and something changes on the outside. And I shape shift fast. I change fast because my evolution is fast, because I am a galactic being. I'm not just an individual soul presence here trying to get my thing done. That's what I am. And I've been really delving deeply into this during my retreat mode for the past few weeks. And it's just had more and more clarity. So what they were showing me now is that we're needing to learn not just to serve others, but to serve life. And that's what will eventually bring people more to alignment with being a being of light, not just being a light worker, a servant, always there for everyone. But in a way, everyone also has their own mission. they have various states of degrees. But I have to remind you all that, you know, I had this conversation with my mother because we are beings who share different paths, and yet there's something very similar that's drawing us together, and that's our soul agreement. So we have her on one end, and she represents the old soul type, and I'm the new soul type, and I'm the galactic being. So it's just as well as she is doing her own personal lifetimes cultivation, which she recently started to jump into very much right now. She made a huge step forward. And it was also partially because I'd given her a Christmas present, this book about Akashic Records. And she didn't just read the book, she really applied herself. She's applying herself every day, and she started to write this book of her life and all these relations. And beneath each and every one of them, she's finding the wisdom, what was the past life connotation, all of that, right? So she's really applying herself. And that applied knowledge, right? Knowledge is power, as you know, and that applied knowledge is freedom. It has the ability to liberate aspects of you that you perhaps haven't liberated yet. So that's her story, and my story is I'm a new being. I'm a galactic being. I'm here more on a mission that's more of galactic proportions, and it's more a synthesis. That's a synthesis not of lifetimes, but the reason why they always through me call Ascension multidimensional, because that's what it is for me. And we as galactic beings, just like people are, they're collecting their personal ascensions, personal lifetimes, we're collecting our personal ascensions because we've been around the block, we've traveled a lot. And I think even in this book that I gave my mother to read, she said, oh, I found you there. It's like it was very much described, this journey of beings who travel through galaxies and gather these journeys. But that's something for another topic, you know, for another time. And basically at this point, I can remind you that I've, because of all this, I've actually channeled a book, a mini audiobook called Galactic Beings and Missions, which describes this and how we truly read the records, and how the mission looks like, and what's the importance of personal life missions and then galactic missions and how they work together. Because with me, it's very beautiful, because as a being of very hyperactive energy, the first part of my life was how to really get grounded on earth and how to understand the realm of earth. And it was actually my mother and my agreement with her that allowed me, created the space for me to be able to do that. And when she was doing a lot of channeling, she was, for every person that was a soul agreement to her, she also came to the point of where I come in, and she actually got an answer that in one of her lifetimes, when she was very, very bruised, you know, she was very she did a lot of healing because she experienced a lot of trauma. And when she went back those in those planes between the realms, she said I was one of the healers there in the team, and I've actually put so much love in her. I've helped her to heal at that time. So eventually we formed an agreement that when I would be coming in my time, she would be the only one appropriate for me. And it makes sense, right? You pour in the love, eventually it creates something you invested, you pour love into, and then it has the ability to cultivate life for you. So that's kind of like how life is. It's beautiful. So when we look back into 2018, right, what's my point is they were telling me a lot of people need to learn the art of devotion, because so far everyone on this planet is obsessed with utilizing their free will, you know, using their free will. And mastery of free will is one thing, you know, but the art of devotion, to really commit to something in the way that is so illumined, it's something that people usually don't have mastered yet here on this planet. That's what they're showing me. So when someone comes who does, it's very difficult for us because we can be devoted, we can be committed, but we experience a lot of that non-reciprocity here on the planet. So for us, it's very difficult. People will tell you, oh, I support you, and then they go away. And you know, people are making up their minds probably about things like every day, so many times, because they're still kind of, what I'm seeing is they're navigating through what truly the law of free will means and how they can apply themselves. And they're finding their balance in all of this, you know. But once you truly are a being of great illumination, you no longer deal with that. For you, that is almost like second grade. It's like it becomes so much important to you that you go now to work on this higher refined essence of what it means to be devoted, to commit to things. And this is what I see so many people lack here, you know. They commit to a relationship for one day or a week, and then poof, off I go. And it's become such an excuse now to say, what's my will? I do whatever I want. And we've been using this excuse of doing whatever we want, and it doesn't get us anywhere. You look at humanity, how it is. Look at the way lives are lived here. For me, when I'm looking at everything, most of the things don't make sense to me because they're so not evolved to what I know to be and to know to be possible. And to know how to be informed in this greater way, to be the light and be informed by light, not just be out there all the time. So if you remember, at the end of 2018, I made a message, and it's available on my download page as well as on my Patreon support page. And it was called, it was Spirit Message, right? And was to be informed within the light. And they were telling me what it means to be an embodiment. Because when you're informed, you really inform in body. And I've talked about this with you. So being informed directly through you, through the body, everything moves directly. So when you're being indirectly informed, that's the part of you that goes out and in. It's like it seeks itself. And it seeks a proper resonance, but until that resonance is found within, you're never going to feel truly what is, you're going to decide, like you decide, oh yeah, that's my teacher. Yeah, that's my vision. Or yeah, this is the way I'm supposed to go. So people are always jumping tracks. And they're, in many cases, they're saying this is because I'm multidimensional. This is not multidimensionality. Indecisiveness and shifting lanes is not multidimensionality. I know it can be confusing for a lot of people because they want it to be, because they want to be there already, and they want to call their multi-operational thinking or jumping wagons all the time, shifting focuses all the time. They want to call them multidimensional, and truly is not. Multidimensionality is more like being so focused and so rooted, but while simultaneously holding all of these essences. And it's like it's all pulsating through you. It's not like you're moving here around. It's like, it's more like you're here, but at the same time you're feeling and experiencing all of that. That's more like the pulse of life in multidimensional expression. Some of the things that, like I said, I know from my galactic heritage and awareness, it's very difficult for me to translate into words. So I became more invested in doing these messages, sharing these channel messages. The second one was the one I received for the Solstice Gateway, and it's also on my Patreon page, and it's also on the download page. It was the Solstice message was very beautiful because it talked about the new spin-off frequency and how we now, at a certain point, a lot of us are finding ourselves to be where life can no longer be perceived a certain way, and it's very difficult, and again, you were here, you were this spiral, and it wasn't really a spiral truly. I will talk about this when I make a video about the spiral consciousness, and we go deeper, and that again will be in my Patreon page. It will be like a mini course. It will be about how to really know what's what, because Earth so far was like, it was more like an enclosed spiral that was more like encirculating. So we talked about this as reincarnating, spinning within the wheel. The wheels of the bus go round and round, right? That's a song. And it left no room for newness. So when souls of galactic missions come in, they bring a lot of confusion to the established. So we are sometimes seen as the odd ones and the weird ones. And we sometimes have difficulty of being here because we're not really widely accepted and many times misinterpreted and, misunderstood. And that's kind of like a label we can get. But it's very difficult, I will tell you, how to navigate with this, with all this knowledge. Sometimes I don't know even the framework, where to put it, how to share it. It's difficult. So for a lot of you, you felt maybe that during the 2018, a lot of the beliefs you've had that just started crumbling one after one. And if you haven't given yourself enough time and space to just be with that, to be present with that, there was again a lot of confusion coming in because of that. We have to give things space, time, to be there. It's also because the perception now is willing, it wants to, but we have to be willing to really fully shift. So I have to share with you, I had this dream that was before actually the new one in Sagittarius in December. I had a dream about a pole reversal, and I've never had this before, but I knew it. So I was looking out through the window, and it was a night. It was like half day, half night, something like that. And all of a sudden, the moon, I was looking at the moon, suddenly moved from left to right. And it was kind of shortly, it was very fast movement. It's like the moon doesn't go like this. And then all of a sudden, we came out of that place where we were looking from. And no one anymore knew what time it is. We were so confused. It was like the great undoing, you know, it was like the doing, what's that right here? Nullification, coming into the point of nullification. So a lot of people are craving this feeling, but this is something that, as I was shown, this is the sign of the inner shift. I believe this is that moving from linear to multidimensional consciousness framework. And a lot of people, like I say, they think being always with different things is multidimensional in nature. No, multidimensional consciousness is the ability to be more and more, absorb more and more light, to be aware of more things simultaneously in parallel. It's not in the physical. Now you are torn between things and you're jumping, like I said, different wagons, because in the spiral consciousness video we'll talk about this, how the unification of timelines truly comes into the great gift of the spiral of life, because this is what we're truly moving towards, those of you on the path of ascension. And within this, I've shared with you before, can be this feeling, this sense, this desire that you want more to life than, you know, having this expectation of yourself or feeling the expectation coming from others, things happening linearly and cyclically, repetitive patterns playing out in life. When not much can change even in this way, you know, like I've shared with you my example of always producing things, producing monthly content, periodical ways, right? Predictable way, which gives a feeling of sense of comfort, right? Safety, security, even to people who want to receive that content. You know, pay per video, pay per this, like what people do, right? And it's always like needing to do and achieve, and if you don't produce that, you're out, right? Then the next one will come along. It's almost like, you know, in Hollywood, if you don't look like spruced up, you know, if you don't get a plastic surgery, someone else will come along. And it's like this fast-paced linear living that's almost like it takes life out of us. It takes the whole essence of why we're here. Who are we as love? How can love truly be expressive in this world? You know, even those of you who might have very high advanced level of consciousness, but how can you be in this world, exist and express those states of consciousness, not just, you know, just be here, cohabitate, you know, do your daily tasks, chores, but how do you bring that sense of, you know, like I always feel myself like I'm this spinning rotation. I'm like super fast and a hyper being, but sometimes I feel like I live in this body that goes through all these changes and transformations, which are sometimes so difficult for me, right? And how can you be in this way while simultaneously being in physical body? For a lot of us, that feels very kind of like captivating. We feel there's a lot of obstruction to what we really want to be, how really we want to feel. So that's why 2018 had this message of being illumined through the presence of the divine feminine and moving more into the feminine nature of life and living, applying ourselves through the feminine principle of life. However, the informative cycle was there, the information was pulsating that way. But we still, of course, were in the old, in parallel. We still experienced the principalities in the old way, how we were structured and told to be, what's safe, what's structured, you know, how we need to be in any way, even when it's spiritual, even how you are when you're really a spiritual guide. And if you don't do these things, you're obviously not. If you don't do workshops and channelings, and if you don't offer this to others, you're not being of service to others, then you're not. It's still an illusion. That's what I'm trying to say here. You are what you are because of what you carry, the consciousness. Like I said, the more you can absorb the soul awareness in parallel multi levels in that nature, the more you're beaming and pulsating simultaneously with all of that, the less you need to produce and deliver in a way that you feel is expected from you, and self-labeling yourself to be a certain way. Like I said before about the nature of star beings or star seeds who are so prone to categorize themselves, I don't know, and always talk about what's my life purpose, I need to do this, I need to go there, I need to purify. But as human beings, like I said, they still have so many faults. And when I say faults, I mean we all have faulty nature in a way, that imperfected perfection, I don't know how to call it, but it's more about to allow yourself to be in angelic essences. And when you are, you're an angelic human. But there's people who don't understand that that's our primary purpose. Not how much we deliver, how we show up. You know, you'll always say you are what you show up in the world to be. No, that's not true. How you show up is what maybe you choose to do. You know, maybe a part of you has chosen to be on the screen, sharing this, doing that, but it's not a constant. And it doesn't mean now you're fake when you stop doing it. It just simply means you've grown out of that phase. You're doing different things now. That's all there is. But as humans, we're always trying to find faults in others, right? We're trying to say, if this is not so, then that person is not embodying this or showing the truth or whatever it is. And basically, it's just, it has always been about what brings that resonance to you. What's your higher calling? That always has to bring you back to you. So my desire originally was that this never-ending story of producing, delivering, all that, right? The record playing on and on, that instead we're operating through the spiral consciousness, right? And that this spiral consciousness is doing only when the flicker of inner knowing or pull, right? That pull of the life force moves you, truly moves you. So, in summation of this feminine journey and how it's important to also know the energy of not just life, but also of death. For me, the whole year of 2018 was an energy of dying. And as it was ending, I was like, when's this death finally going to end? I want new life. But our human self, our human counterpart can get so impatient at times, right? It has its expectations, how and what it feels right to be new life, and what it no longer wants, you know. And then you want it to die already, and you want to step into this new life. But we also have to partially embrace the energy of death, which allows rebirth. And if we don't allow ourselves to die fully, then we can also birth new life fully. That's the rule. That's how it is. So for us to give ourselves the space to be more, not just extroverted, like positioning ourselves as light workers, light beings, gurus, teachers, whatever, star seeds. But instead of that, can we humble ourselves to just be, to be in our hearts, to be the heart emitting beings that are living as existing life essences that bring life forward in our own unique way. So when life wants to move through you, you act, you do, you share. When life doesn't, you're in this withdrawn space. And when people would devalue you in such a way and say, ooh, you don't produce enough, so boo you, we go away, we go to someone else. Okay, let them, you know. That's the thing. It's like everyone will always be with their equal matching consciousness. And when I see people moving away from no longer being a part of my work or following or, you know, choosing to somehow navigate their own ascension through what I offer as a galactic being, then that's their choice. It means that's what they are. Sometimes people are not ready for certain things. They need to do other things before. And this is what I primarily understand as being vital. So we sometimes ourselves are not ready for the things we think we need to do or be at. So that's why these periods of retreating and reflections are so important, because this is when we grow. We don't see life so much in death, but death, we have to see death as not away from life, not a separate thing from life. It's just a phase, a stage of life, like in nature when we observe it. So for me, because a lot of the new moons or full moons or all these activations were occurring in the 8th house, a lot of it last year, even 2018, right? The number is the 8 at the end. And also, I was an 8 numerological year, numerology year. And it was for me so fascinating to see how much death I've witnessed. And when it was approaching the end of the year, I felt like I'm so tired of it all already. My body was like trying to resist this process. And what happened is, I have to share this with you. Towards the very end, right? I had this one of the biggest initiations in my life. Probably know, I've had a lot, but this was very intense for me, because what happened was, Christmas was a very beautiful day here, you know. It was very beautiful, very beautifully orchestrated tiny little miracles and events that sparked up the knowing of inner magic, and that really is, although people say it's a holiday, well, in truth, it's a day for me when the sun starts to travel back up, and there's an intensity of the solar connection and feeling of light returning. But the next day was, we went out, and it was so orchestrated. It couldn't be any other way because the previous day was just so perfect. And all of a sudden, we passed by this hunter's lodge they have there, and I didn't even know. I was so excited because it was such a beautiful sunny day. It was so warm after such a long time. I was just so excited, and I'm walking and I'm walking, and all of a sudden I'm like, oh, I look like this, and I see this whole wagon full of dead carcasses of animals. I think they were deer or something. I didn't even want to see. I was like, oh no, why did I have to see this? And then we see those people there drinking, smoking, like laughing with this almost like crass frequency. I could just feel it, you know. It's like when people who are totally ungrateful, you know, they're all there just for self entertainment, self pleasuring. There's no gratitude left in these people. All they care is about, you know, their meat, their stuff, and they're just totally unaware of that, you know, taking life from another being and not even having any gratitude is just to get self pleasure in that moment. When that's all that life becomes, it's like taking, 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 no giving left. It's just so crass. It's so difficult. And I saw that, and I don't know what happened, but I just went to those people and I said something, nothing judgmental. I just said something like, you know, I was asking them, I said, we were laughing at us just back then, you know, because they were laughing at us. When they saw my reaction, I was like, whoa, you know, look at that. And I don't know, I was so called to go there. But when I saw them, they were like mocking me, you know, with their energy. And they were like, it was a very difficult energy for me to witness. It's so foreign. And as a foreigner, you know, for me, it was like, oh, just breathe. And then I don't know what happened. When I was returning down, I started to cry. And I was almost crying the whole day. I didn't know why. I was so sad. And then I was blabbering some weird things about killing my animals. I'm like, my animals? What are they, my animals? I didn't fully understand, but I was saying certain things that were almost channeled. And it was very traumatic. You know, I was healing. I was in healing mode for the rest of the day. The next day I go out. What happens is I had this feeling. I was walking. I always walk the same path. I go up this creek. There's like a random path. It's not really a path, but I'm going there, right? And nothing ever happens to me. But that day, I still had so much sadness in me. It's like I felt the deepest sadness ever, and it wasn't my sadness. It was just this collective feeling of how wrong are these things. This what's left of the human spirit. It's been so killed in a way. It's been so suppressed, and now that's all that's left of it is just like, give me the food, give me this, give me that, ha ha ha. You know, it's like I felt so sad. I felt such longing for home at that moment. You know, it was very difficult for me. And I'm walking up the hill, and all of a sudden I have this thought: I no longer want to be here. And what happened is my soul, of course, orchestrated everything for me perfectly as it always does. And that moment when I was climbing up the hill, it was just like a few. It was too warm for that time of the year, I think, and the ground just collapsed. And I started falling, and the hill was like this, and I started falling. I'm like, ah, I'm seeing the last of me. And then somehow I see this tree, and I either hit the tree or I kind of wrapped myself around it. It was like I was going slow, but I was going like this, right? I was all covered with dirt and leaves, and then I hardly held that tree. It was difficult. I'm not in shape right now in winter. And I had this feeling like meeting death, right? You know, it's like it's a possibility, right? And I was shown how quickly there's this subconscious knowing that you create that. But you, in this paradox, you know, you have this thought, I want to go, I want to leave. There's nothing here for me. And when I was holding that tree, I came up. I was crying again. I started crying so badly. I was all black, you know. And in that moment, all I wanted to do is just yammer about how I'm not welcome on this planet. It's not for me. I'm never going to finish what I came here for, you know. And I was saying weird things, you know, it was just my moment. But in that moment, you know, I just saw how this paradox existed, that even though I said I don't want to be here, I was grabbing on, you know, to that piece of the tree. It's like, why is this paradox in us? You know it's not your time to go because you're holding on. And then I was doing this healing, and it was just being there, allowing myself to feel that grief and lie on the floor. I just lied on the cold floor. Luckily for leaves, right, we're doing kind of like a layer of thickening, right? So isolation. And I was just there. I was just being with Mother Nature, allowing her to embrace my tears, my healing. And basically that, I didn't know how important that it was. But when I came home again, I needed quite a day to process it. And the next day, I didn't know, I thought it was from cold, right? But I think it was a few days later, I had intense pain going through my whole arm. And I thought it was from cold because I was sitting outside channeling like a crazy person for like 2 hours and I couldn't have my gloves on, right? Because it was raining. I thought maybe the cold must have gone in and it's giving me this rheumatic, how do you call it? I don't know. It's kind of like this type of pain that's it's kind of like something is ripping you, right? It's like being ripped out of you. But then I realized, wow, this is the pain that's physically now being released through the body because I felt it so strongly in my heart. And the heart is, the hands are the extensions, the arms and the hands of the heart. And then the pain was just leaving my body. And the whole day I had heat applied through my hands. And then it started to go through my whole body. So much pain. I was just lying there. That's all I could do. And that's why my video was quite late because I had quite a process and I couldn't do them. I wasn't in the state of doing them at all. I had a lot of healing work to do. But after that, the next day, I felt again totally resurrected. And then I was shown something, and later it came out with the galactic beings and missions channeling of what we actually do. Those of us who are here for galactic purposes and who are correcting the spin of the discordant energies here on the planet and how we create these circumstances, these conditions to actually do that work. And it's very intense. And in that moment, what occurs is that the higher self goes, it withdraws, it moves away because it cannot be there. Because the human self, right, the human counterpart needs to go through this work. The human essence of the feeling is the hardest part of this work. I had to see those carcasses. For me, that was like seeing so many at once. It was like seeing one, I already die. I'm so sensitive. I can't see that. And, it happens naturally. I never feel that energy. But when something is taken and taken without gratitude, away, like ripped off, I feel that energy because it's there. I feel energetically. I don't just judge what I see physically there, right? And this is what galactic empaths we do. We feel that discordancy. But then we have to translate this energy. And when we do that, it's almost like we take these packets of energy and we have to swallow them up with our crystalline frequency. And that's the heaviest part to do because the higher self simultaneously will withdraw itself. That's why in those moments you feel no connection. And that's why I was crying. I want to go home. I don't feel this because the only time I feel longing is when the higher self will withdraw. It will create almost like this diversion for that moment, a temporary distraction, because the human physical counterpart needs to do the work. That's the human strengthening, and this is how we bring the gift of illumination to our human bodies. That's the greatest part. And it's actually the challenging, most difficult part. And I don't see a lot of that being mentioned in the Ascension teachings or channelings. It's all so much mental and structured. And I don't like that because it's all about what our human counterparts through the body needs to do. As you know, probably if you've been around, I've created at the end of the year the new Human Illumined Body course. And this is actually what sets the template for this work. Then it's like reading that book. Will you apply the knowledge or not? Just going through that, it's not in itself a guarantee you're doing this work. So for me, they were showing me that because this process is so lengthy, it's so intense, and I was crying a lot towards the end of the year, just trying to dissolve from the whole year. For me, this was one of the most difficult years I've ever had. It was most challenging. And it was so challenging that in a way it was also so sweetly beautiful. That's the paradox, like holding on to that tree. Should I stay or should I go? And I was having this question in my mind. I'm like, wait a minute, what's the truth now? Was I grasping on because I'm so stubborn, I want to stay here even though it's my time to go? Or is it not my time to go? And I know that, and that's why I'm holding on, even though my thought is like, I want to go, get me off this planet as fast as you can. I never actually have those thoughts. But it's like the body knows. The body's so strong. It knows it needs to survive. It's like holding on. And basically, you're just showing to yourself, here's the option. But, it's a trigger, actually, to get the process going. So it's a funny thing, but it's how it is. So in seeing that and feeling that, that's the challenging part. It's the feeling part. So if we don't... if that is not allowed to happen randomly and spontaneously, we usually want to sabotage it by kind of avoiding it. So that's all in the channel. If you want to know how these missions are, how to read the Akash, what's the true proper way of reading the Akashic planes, because there's a lot of confusion about this as well. you know, get that Galactic Beings and Missions mini audiobook. It's again a part of my Elohim series and my book section of the page. And it's really beautiful, I would say, you know, and it explains this alchemy work between the old souls and the new soul types and how actually they assist each other because they're all a part of a very important mission plan and why this is so. Yeah. A part of this Akashic, why this is also mentioned, is because this is also now so important at this time. The closure before moving on to the next state, and I feel that's the time, not just, oh, we're already past, it's already January, I don't know which one, it's over, we can do synthesis. No, this is now a time of the synthesis until the March equinox point. We're going to be doing that. And in the New Year update, I'm going to be talking about some of the celestial alignments as well that can aid you with that. So watch that part as well. But please know this is still in going. We don't begin the new year just with the numbers going, you know, 1-1. Ooh, yeah, new beginning. No, as I feel it, Sylvester's for me is like a celebration of really letting go. And for New Year's, we had that beautiful ceremony. With the fire and burning the things we want to let go of. And somehow we look at the list and there were 12 of them. Wow, let's invite 12 new essences to come in, right? That's what we did. And we're in that phase. It's still a letting go process. It's still unwinding because this is a transition between the solstice point and the equinox is the most transitorial in nature in that way. So that's why these things are feeling to us like very thin layers, right? We have a lot of for me, winter time is like a lot comes through in that way. It's a reflective time. And for that purpose, I want to read you some of the essences that came after we burn the old ones, you know, the aspects, patterns we no longer wish to participate with. And these are the ones I've actually drawn from the essences box I have. And the words are simplicity, spontaneity, support, birth, peace, wisdom, authenticity, faith, delight, clarity, release, and education. And these were all for me the energy essences to welcome in this new year. So it's very good if you are doing any kind of ritual, you can still do it. It doesn't have to be on Sylvester's Eve or whatever it is. So I've added my own, you know, it's kind of like connotations of this. So when you get an essence, you can deepen it by applying what it relates to, you know, for you. So I wrote simplicity of living, spontaneity within planning. See, so even when you have structure, you're still spontaneous, you're in that spiral. Support from others, birth of new body, that's what I felt. Peace of mind, wisdom of the ages, authenticity of the heart, faith in myself, delight in the moment, clarity of purpose, release of everything, and education shift. So it's like the way we educate, the way we bring ideas and things into a more structured form also is shifting, okay? And the message coming through was, there is no more growth on a certain tree of life. Something wants to be deeply reborn. The old ways serve no more. The sacred woman within is ready for new birth. Her white buffalo calf is the pure child she's calling forth. That was the message. I will read you another message from this beautiful rose notebook in the New Year's video. But I want to now read you also the importance of why it is so important to retreat, reflect, engage with knowing where you are, how you are, okay? So we have this guidance saying, a busy mind that is preoccupied with stuff cannot channel higher intelligence of light. When all slows down, only spirit remains. Using others and endless activities of the mind and physical sensations slows us down so that we cannot align with the higher resonance. Distractions are self-sabotaging acts that prevent us from expanding further into the self-realized state as one with spirit. They feed our ego and senses but remain devoid of pure presence. In the light of our illumined presence, we replenish and take respite in the infinite tantric breath full of our spirit essence. Through others and activities of mind, I can only satisfy my mind. My mind is insatiable. However, the light of my presence is fully illumined and forever fulfilled, always and now. It is the source of my true power to know myself as I am. And remember, right? Knowledge is power. And the application of that knowledge is freedom, it's liberation. So remember, the more we retreat, the more we receive. That's always with guidance, because we always want to pursue guidance actively. So in 2018, we were learning to be informed through the feminine principle of life. Some of the major themes were also, if you remember, the artificial intelligence, what it is, learning to recognize it, because when you do, you identify it. Remember, at the end of the year, I made this whole mini free course on, what was it called? Seership mastery course of the marks of seership and illumined cognition, and seeing the great deception, what's it called, hologram. And basically, and now I want to go forward and move and expand that even more. But this is now complete. It's round up as they're showing me in terms of YouTube. And I will do a mini video course about this on my Patreon. In the newer video, I'm going to update you on all of those changes, what's to come, what you can expect, right? But I also want to read you this message now, because it's very important that we understand that certain things really need to die and be over with, because if we kind of too much engage with the knowing, it's like we need to constantly be informed. And that's in this yearly message of the synthesis of 2018, the message of self, what was it called? The yearly message, holiday message for 2018 that's on my page. It's a message of really being informed through the self, right, of conscious self-presence. And for us to invite in this new feminine essence now more into embodiment, because this year I felt we were impulsed to be aligned with that. But in this upcoming year, and you will see why also in the channeled message and numerology and all of it, it's really just moving more into embodiment, into that state of receptivity, so that the body becomes now aligned with that which we were informed in. Because first the template has to change and the body receives and becomes a part of that change. So I want to read you this guidance about the feminine embodiment through the tantric essence, because I was seeing once a picture of a volcano, and that day I had a very intense activation and awakening into that presence. So there was a woman and she was as a volcano, right? So it was about cosmic orgasm activation. So the reason why I was talking so much about life force mastery and cultivation through the body is because it's the body that's being illumined. And that's why I mentioned to you this experience with myself when the higher self needs to withdraw. So it doesn't mean you're not connected at those times, but the human part needs to walk through the initiation. Otherwise, the human counterpart does not get strengthened into this new. It cannot have the understanding that needs to build. So bringing this galactic way of informing, right, to the spiraling consciousness in the human form requires that. So it will be almost like a mixture of the infusion with the higher self, the feeling of your overlighted presence, your light team, and a withdrawal of it. And I've had the sense of withdrawal for the whole year, because the body was changing and they were showing me that during that change I was becoming more vulnerable, because the human counterpart now needs to do the work that was done on the higher self level. So then that's withdrawn, and you have a feeling, that withdrawal, that wow, your light team is no longer there for you. It's not there in the same way, but it's just they're right there. But it's almost like they're cheering you on, because it's the human counterpart that needs to birth this. And that was the whole point of 2018, of allowing that and having the wisdom to understand this and to be patient with this process, because it is quite a process. So if you imagine the woman as the giving birth aspect of the self, it's the cosmic light is received via an activation of the light, and then it gradually progresses to meet the center for life cultivation in the woman. That's a yoni, right? At the periods of increased cosmic activity, the woman may feel like a bloated one. Soft and so, right? There was a picture of a volcano there, which I saw, and it's brewing with energy. And sometimes this causes a distress in the digestive issues. And if this is not tended to properly, the issues may continue and the discomfort levels increase. During life force sexual energy cultivation through breath, that intense incoming energy is gathered. It's kind of like piled up and then consciously released with love, like a spewing molten lava volcano during the eruption. This is the release of the pent-up energy, which doesn't do the body any good when not utilized for higher purposes of light. The new cosmic energies therefore need to be ingested with awareness and presence and digested through love. This is the intentional cultivation of their cosmic intention by the light body awareness integration that unites with the physical body. This means that the intensified cosmic activity is intended for such purposes and becomes difficult to process for those that inhabit lower vibrational states of frequency. Hence, to become a master of life force conscious integration is so deeply important at this time, and this is what I was talking about it for so long. The body will know how to distribute the new cosmic energy waves as combinations of our higher self, which is the higher self essence with the combination of the cosmic rays. It will distribute that evenly and will even it out so that they will serve a greater purpose rather than causing the physical body discomfort and pain. So again, when you know that when you're in awareness, you will do the work, right? So with our 2018, which was kind of like a preparation year for what's to come, it's like the 2019 now marks a choice point. And we're going to continue with that in the New Year video because this is now the old world versus the new world. And this is where we're going to move into next. The combination of the old versus the new. So I've given you the story of my initiation in these last few days of 2018 and the ability to know the self and to know the self through these very intense situations, but to digest it so fully that awareness comes exactly on the point of when the reconnection occurs because you're ready, you've done the work of swallowing or gobbling it up. And in that case, you're instantly pulled into the reading of the Akash. And again, I want to go back to what I was saying before, that there's there's confusion everywhere on this planet about every single thing you can imagine. But I haven't seen a greater distortion about this than the Akashic record reading, because now everybody claims they're an Akashic reader. They will read your records. They're going to tell you your purpose and everything. What a bunch of hooey, okay? I'm sorry, I don't want to be rude or anything. But when you understand universal principles and laws that govern the whole structure of creation through benevolence, you will know that only you yourself can read your records, and that's all in channeling. So if you're going to get the galactic beings and missions, you also get a greater clarity about this, and also the lack of that clarity which was created with the New Age and all of this propaganda and people making money out of this. Because the way you truly work and assist someone is by reflecting those patterns so they can really see, so they can have that self-reflection come back to them, so everyone can consciously work with their own energy. And instead of, like I've said before, every starseed now claiming they have this mission, they're in a mission, but the mission is them. And if they don't do the work of the self to work with inner essences, to illuminate every essence that was distorted and was kept in duality, they're not doing the ascension work, period. You can awaken certain levels of the self, but if the work is not done in your body, that's the integration work, then you can't ascend. You can't move on to the next level and octave. So this is the primary work, when everyone should really be focusing on inner work first. And instead of worrying too much what they're going to do in the world and, who to serve and who's going to be better or have a prettier channel or a blog, that's all not what we're really here for. And the moment you really wake up, you're going to see, and you're going to have great devotion and clarity for what you're here for. So that's the reason why I've shown you this. So to know the Akashic alignment, right? How it serves you, how can you read it? Anyone can be a pure channel, but you first need to dissolve from all of these nonsenses, they feed you kind of like the awareness that's based on duality, because someone will tell you, I can do that, I'm this being, right? You know what, I'm a galactic being, I'm an illumined one, that's my family, the illumined light council. But we don't pretend we do read records for anyone. That's not what we do. We don't say we're better, because this is the conversation I've had with my mom, on New Year's Eve, sorry. And I've said to her, people give the hierarchy and they create it here on Earth, but here on Earth, it doesn't exist. The complexity of the mission only exists at the level of the soul. You will have the kind of mission that reflects the complexity of your being, what you're capable of doing, what you can do, all of this, same thing. But when you're on Earth, it's like even ground, right? So I have to walk through the same world of patterns. My awareness is more expanded. But the physical human work, I have to do just the same as my mother does, right? So it's like my awareness is already ascended. She's still ascending in that awareness. But as humans, we're very equal in mirroring those patterns we kind of take on as humans, and that's the part of our embodiment work. And this is where most people fail, because they start to give the hierarchy implementation to the realm of earth dwelling. And it creates even more separation, and like I said, it creates self-entitlement and positioning that's basically just self-created. I can create a position for myself, and as a being who works as employment of spirit, I can make up a lot of things. But we can all make up things here in the mind. It's just in our head. But what we're truly here for, only the life force mastery guidance will tell us, and that's spirit. That's pure spirit. To be in line with spirit, to read your own Akashic records purely, to know that you can read anything. You have to do the work, or you can be lazy and go to other people and continue to perpetuate this belief, but you're not really going to grow from it. So in that mini audiobook, there's entire knowing and the false information people are continuously being fed, how other people can do your work. The only thing they can do is read the patterns. Of course, any empath can read the energy pattern, but you can still translate it falsely, because if you have your own false patterning within you, if you haven't done the work, bringing back things to their sealing nature. And again, the nature of energy seals is explained in the Galactic Beings Mission mini audiobook. What are seals of energy, how to create energy into a sealed energy. So it's like an archetype that has become, it's kind of rounded up, it's kind of became its perfected state of being, and why galactic beings and what they do in this work, in this mission, and how old souls are moving into that with their own mastery, their own culmination. So this false information that's being fed, especially to the younger generation, that's preying on their prematurely non-developed ego, right? Because it's still based on that, what am I here to achieve? And that's how we're being programmed. And again, this is not about achievement. This is about love. And only love has the ability to dissolve these discordant patterns and bring you back to the seals, primarily seals of creation. These are the non-distorted patterns of light as they were created from first source. So that's all in the channeling. So we're here to do this inner work. So when you know how to read your records and you know how to actually really serve others, is first knowing to serve the self. And you do that through your own evolution and ascension. And those of us who've gone through this many times before, when we come into the realms of physicality and assisting others, we can only do that by reflecting those patterns of distortion through ourselves being in this patterns of purity, so that they can feel the discord energy themselves and know how to take the appropriate archetype that they're here to work through, that eventually they create their own seals. They seal the energy, and that's how you move on. And again, you get a new energy packaging to unwind. This might feel more advanced, but it's truly not. It's very simple, because we all get assignments in terms of light packages of energy we need to open up. Like I said, the book, you open up, you digest, you kind of like integrate it, and then you seal it, right? When it's done, it's sealed, signed, sealed, delivered, right? It means you're moving on. So a lot of people are stuck because they're being fed false information, and their own bloated egos are telling them, it's like I can be this and that. And it's just, when you really do this work, it's humbling in a way. Sometimes I go like, where have I fallen to? Where am I in this world? I'm surrounded with these people and that, but in a way that's so humbling. And then just when I was receiving this channel guidance about the galactic beings and missions, I was actually saying to myself, what if galactic beings develop such great egos, right? They had to be sent down to Earth. It's like, yeah, one of the possibilities. When you're open to anything is when the truth will be presented to you. But you have to be open. You can't make up your own mind and define something that's not for you to define, in a way through the mind. So when you're starting to work with your own records, you can do this retrospective. Like my mother has started to write this beautiful book. It's a beautiful journey of her life and different packages. She's taking something here and there and there, and that's creating this whole story, right? It's very beautiful. So only by truly knowing yourself and creating seals of energy within yourself, you will know how your organic self feels like. And you will be less and less engaging in the artificial intelligence, which was also and continues to be the overall theme, not just of 2018. It's a theme of the recent years. It's a theme of our transition years. And a lot of people who don't know, they're moving into that sphere of being in that reality. And reality is something you ascribe to. It's something you take as being real. So we all exist in different vibrational levels where reality feels different to us, when we're ascribing to different things that are real to us, and that's why realities are different. So this year now marks a choice point. Remember that. In the New Year video, the second one, we're going to unwind that, unpack this a little further. And then the Patreon, we're going to do a guided spirit channel session, messages and all. And yeah, in the next video, we're going to talk about the major themes for, you know, for now, for where we are, and about the 3 different worlds that are now coexisting. So the last thing I want to do here now, because I've promised you, right, is as a part of this, what's still left. I thought I'm going to do that before the New Year's, but I couldn't. Like I said, I had a surprise visitations assignments. But I had a spirit raffle, if you remember. So I actually share with you that everyone who donates or buys anything from my page in December, which is a holiday month for all of us, will get, we're going to do mini prizes, right? We're going to get little things. So I want to do this now. I haven't done it, so you won't say that I'm cheating or something. I'm paying favorites. And basically, I was guided. At first, I thought I'm going to send people products, but then Spirit told me no, because things like courses and so, first of all, they're very valuable. They're invaluable in that way, in terms of materiality. But what Spirit was showing me, that someone's soul has to be ready for what's in a certain particular course, and it has to guide them specifically. So it's not something for me to give, because it's something that has to be met at the level of soul. So I've chosen my crystal products because I think that's the second best thing I really love doing, and I enjoy very much. So I've chosen 3 things, okay, here. And I'm going to show you, have them here. We're going to do this now to unwind this together, to unpack this together, and then we're going to move on to the second part. Okay, so we're going to do that through, I want to be as modern as I can be, and I'm going to use what's called a random number generator. So you choose a number from 1 to whatever, and it will generate a number. And I've written down numbers for the people who participated, and we're going to have our people. So I have 3 things. First of all, I have what I've created. This is from the crystals. I don't know if you can see it. These are our crystal cave crystals. These are calcites, and I've created a Merkaba. I don't know if you can see it, but it's in the shape of it's double opposing triangles. It's in the shape of a Merkaba. And you put a mini tea light candle inside, and it's beautifully illuminating. I have one that I made for myself. It's right there in the middle with the Christmas Buddha, New Year Buddha now. And basically it gives off a really beautiful light. It kind of disperses it through the room. So we're going to use that as number 1. And everyone, of course, will also get a mini seraphim painted stone, right? These are the wings of seraphim. I always send this. And of course, I've chosen also 3 crystal pieces separately. So these are chunky pieces of these crystals from the crystal cave. They're very special. So these also go along with that. The second person will get crystal aura spray. These are the newest batch I've recently made, based on sacred rose. So we also have a rose here, hanging here. So people who've gotten these sprays said they're amazing. So, and the third one will be a pendant that I made from high mountain crystals I found once on a big mountain top, and I made it into these pendants. It's like this. That's a very poor camera I have, I'm really sorry. And these, around it is rose quartz crystals. So you can put it on a chain or something. It's just a pendant. You can also use it as a pendulum if you want. Yeah, so each one of these, we have the candle holder, we have the aura spray, and we have the pendant, right? And each one of them will also get seraphim stone. That's an angel stone. Ooh, one fits. See, one fits into this candle holder. And of course, a beautiful chunky piece, the alpine crystals. And I'm going to write to you, and you're going to give me your address, and that's how simple it will go. So let's do the random thingy. And I'm going to have to write your name, right? So we don't like get anything mixed up. So let's see. Okay. Let's do the generator. Get the number 6. Number 6 is Gerald Bayer. Okay, Gerald Bayer. So Gerald gets the first prize. Gerald gets the candle holder. Gerald, I hope you're gonna like it. I hope you receive packages, by the way. Okay, now let's do second one. Generate. Ooh, number 20. 20 is Christina. Christina Panzic. I can't pronounce this. Christina Panzic. I don't know. Okay, I think she already got an aura spray from me. I have this feeling. So maybe I'm gonna send her a pendant. Okay, and the third one is, let's do the random number. Sorry, I'm very good with names. I remember people and what they get from me. That's weird, I know, but my brain is like super. I remember everything, and people always like, "Do you remember me? Once I had a session with you." Duh. I'm like, I remember everyone, and people sometimes like, yeah, I do. I can't help it. That's the reason why I do this. Multidimensional being. Okay, last one. Generate. 21. No, it doesn't work. Wait a minute, I have to do again. Can we have this number before? Yeah, we had 6 before. It was 6. Let's do another one. 25. Okay. Oh, we had 6 twice. What poor. Okay, so number 25 is Chantal LaRose. Chantal LaRose. LaRose. Okay, so then I'm gonna do spray for Chantal because she didn't get it yet, I think. Okay, so Gerald Bayer, Christina Panzitz, and Chantal LaRose. These are my winners. Winners. Doesn't mean your all other ones are losers. Sorry, I have to have a little joke here. I'm not getting things too seriously. I want to start with the second video because I have so much yet to share. This was just a preview. I hope you will continue seeing things as always like seeking synthesis and evaluation and self-reflection. We're going to see in the January update why this is so important as of yet. So I'm going to see you in the next update. See also my Patreon page, and in the next video I'm going to explain the new things to come and the things to leave. That's how it is.